Good evening and welcome back to another episode from the SamosaChai.net series. I'm here today joined by our very own host, Nish and Vivek. Hi Nish, hi Vivek, how are you both doing?
We are doing excellent. And
All
if
good,
only
all
you can
good.
put us back on the screen.
Great. Yes, I'm again in ghost mode saying hi to everybody. But before I hand over the floor to you both, I would request you all to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat section is open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. Vivek and Nish will both answer all your questions during the session, so please feel free to drop all your questions in the chat section. With this, thank you all and enjoy the session. Over to you both.
Finish. How are you?
Hey, Vivek, what's up? How are you? So, first of
All
all, what's
good.
there behind you?
There are two things basically. That's a window,
There's a window,
and and there
and
is
there's
a
a truck behind.
there's a truck. There's a truck
Yeah. You can
full
literally
of
not make out that, but yeah,
that truck. The truck is full of swags.
very nice. So, why don't you
You know,
tell our viewers what exactly is this swag for?
in-person events. We're starting in-person events. So the truck is full of swags. What's that?
So, hey everybody, welcome to the show. As always, we're just chit chatting because it's a Samosa Chai event, and we were discussing about starting off the in-person event. Things are getting better, so we get to see each other. So Vivek is already at the office today, and we have an in-person event tomorrow. But the idea is for Samosa Chai, we will start having kind of like an hybrid event. We will have an in-person as well as we will try and stream it for the next episodes onwards. But if you didn't know, this is going to be the last of the series of this season where we are talking about microservices and .NET. We have more stuffs coming in, so stay tuned for more. So what else, Vivek? What are we talking today?
So today we are talking about how do we instrument, the .NET app in our microservice, and specifically from monitoring and enabling app insights and other stuff, right? So even before we go there, right? So I just want to do a couple of recap, what we have covered until today. So we started with the tools, which are what are the tools required for building a microservice app. We defined what is microservice app and other things, and we did a simple session on Kubernetes as well, the tool, cloud-native tool, which is required, and then we covered building a microservice app, GitHub actions, how do you deploy it? We did data store. What else? What am I missing here? Data store, and what else, Nish? Did I miss anything? Feature
These are
flags.
feature flags. Yep.
We did feature flags. So this bunch of things we covered, almost 8 episodes of this, and this episode we're going to cover the instrumenting, how we can instrument the application for monitoring and management of logs and other things. Before that, 8 days to go to complete your the cloud skill challenge, which we launched when we started this microservice series in samosachai.net, and it's very simple. 8 days to go, 8 modules you can complete easy, right? So if you start today, you can easily complete all the 9 modules. In fact, it's easy to complete, and you can see. I can show you. Here you go, Nish.
Mm.
9 on
You
9.
completed all the 9.
Yes, I'm
Fantastic. You're
100%
certified
complete.
now.
Yep, I'm certified as a microservice expert.
Zero to hero. Yeah. So you are a
I'm a
hero of
hero.
microservices.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so it's easy to complete. Just go to that QR code and link. It's very simple, aka.ms, samosachai.net, and you can take up this cloud skill challenge. Cool. So what are we discussing, Nish, today?
Yeah. So today, being the last session on microservices, but also one of the most important ones, which is about understanding logging and monitoring. Basically, we talk about microservices being distributed in nature, have different services all over the place. So how do you monitor them? How do if there is an issue? How do we trace them? So we look at those things in a perspective of an retailer. Understanding e-commerce application and seeing, okay, when things are failing, or if things are when a business transaction is happening, how do you do look at end to end? How do we monitor things, right? So we'll also look at a few things, like as we do this, we'll look at a very basic thing of structured logging, which is what you will implement in the code. And then we will start looking at, okay, once you do that, then you have to store somewhere in the centralized database, because logging, if you want to have multiple services connecting and then having those information, that needs to be logged at a centralized databases, and even better if they are something more like a managed centralized databases, so that you don't have to involve in managing that infrastructure, right? So something like application insights are super useful in doing that. So we look at how do you connect to that, and then and if what Vivek and I did previously is, like, we set it up in such a way that we don't waste too much time, so that we can go ahead and see it when we start executing these transactions. Like, how do we look at it at a scale, right? We will also briefly touch upon the Azure Monitor for containers, because if you've been following us throughout the last 7 episodes, we talk about microservices with containers, Kubernetes, and things like that. So everything that you do are within the containers. So there's a feature called Azure Monitor for containers, where you can actually use those Kubernetes cluster to kind of like see what the pod's performances, metrics, and things like that on an Azure Monitor. So we'll show you how to do that as well. And also, I think Vivek can explain more on these. We'll talk about custom performance metric using Prometheus, which is what will be used internally by Azure Monitor for containers for scraping and getting that information. You can use Prometheus, you can use Grafana as a dashboard, but you don't have to, yeah, because Azure Monitor for containers have that feature directly, which can scrape through the Prometheus. So these are the things that we're going to look at. It's a very interesting and an exciting topic, but it can go in depth sometimes. But we'll try to stick to the basics of things as much as we can, and depending on the questions that you have, we can elaborate wherever necessary. Right, Vivek?
Yes, definitely. Um, and this is something which we have been discussing, right? This is the architecture which we are using for all of our sessions, and this is nothing but a e-shop on containers. And even if you go on to GitHub and search for this, and something an amazing tool, amazing way to understand microservices. So, anything you want to add here,
Yeah, I
Nish,
can.
from this perspective? Yeah.
Yeah, I can quickly explain this for those of you who are joining for the first time here. This entire microservice architecture is whatever you're seeing here. It's just a sample reference architecture, which is part of the .NET/architecture. If you go there, it's a reference sample that we generally use to show the scalability of .NET, and how to do microservices. And this is one of these architectures. And we're not saying this is the right way to do it. We're just saying this is one of the better ways to do it. And then they are just nothing but an e-commerce application. So there is a storefront and what you see as a web spa application. The names are like very techy names. It's not a business oriented names, because we know that developers are going to access this. So spa is basically like a single page application. It's built on Angular, and the backend of that is an ASP.NET Core application. And then it connects to the backend multiple microservices, right? And before it connects to multiple microservices, it has an entry point to these cluster, and that's through the API gateways. And we use simple reverse proxies here for do the routing, instead of exposing every microservice may or may not have an endpoint. In this case, we have most of the microservices we have an endpoint, because that need to be queried. So that you need, instead of exposing the entire endpoints outside to the world, where your web application has to connect to. Instead, what we do is we actually expose them through the API gateways. So the end client, in this case, we for the MS Learn model, we only have web application. But if you go look at the original architecture, it also has a mobile client, and that has its own gateway, the mobile gateway. And similarly, if you have a third-party vendors and things like that in future who have to query your databases for something, in our services for something, then you may have another gateway where you will also restrict on throttling and things like that. So the architecture is designed in such a way, right? And on the right side, whatever you see is just microservice architecture. It has different services. Every service has its own databases, and the way they connect with each other, sometimes they are maybe they're making grpc calls, or sometimes they are on asynchronous mode, right? So one service notify the other service by saying, hey, order is complete. Now once order complete, whoever is responsible for taking that order complete to the next level, that probably is maybe payment service, so that'll can, and then that'll do its job. And that is by subscribing to these events, for which we use RabbitMQ locally, but we you can also use Azure Service Bus for your for that asynchronous transaction. So this architecture kind of like puts everything in perspective, like what is where and how to do things. Vivek is pretty new to this .NET world, and he's been enjoying this, and he has become almost an expert now. So he's been he he goes ahead and shows these demos multiple places. That's what I hear people say, and so it's a very straightforward architecture. So don't get intimidated by these kind of complexity. These complexities exist for a reason. You can go through all these MS Learn modules that Vivek has shown, part of the challenge. Once you start executing this, you'll know how simple it is, because the way we try to do this learn modules is by letting you focus on the areas that you're going to learn, right? So you can only focus on this. So for example, in this one, we will be learning only about the logging and monitoring and other things, right? So yeah, I hope that was a very brief explanation of what we have been doing for the
Definitely.
last
And
7 episodes.
if you catch up on the previous episodes, you will learn how to build this coupon service. Coupon service is not there. We built it in a live, right? So that's something which you can go and check out. And then we added Azure Redis Cache instead of Redis Cache, which is here, right? So that is something which we
We used
designed as well.
Cosmos.
Yeah, yeah. We also use so yeah, Cosmos DB as well,
Mm.
and feature flags and GitHub actions, building and deploying these set of things. So pretty interesting. So before we deep dive into that, do want to see what we are doing? Okay, these are the exercises. Okay, so we'll straight away go into the
Yep.
demo. Okay, so these are the three things which we are going to do. We're going to implement application insights, and we'll see how to use insights, application insights, and then we're going to understand Azure Monitor for containers. So let me go and show you a couple of things. So I have executed this magic script. This is the one. So this is an amazing magic script. Just copy this script. This is the module which we're executing, by the way. It is part of that Cloud Skill Challenge. So just log into Cloud Skill Challenge and you'll get this instrument cloud native microservice module. And just go to the unit 2 and you will see this amazing command. And we have executed this command in the Cloud Shell. So just go, let me show you the Cloud Shell. Where is the Cloud Shell? So in
You're in the Cloud Shell, right?
now I'm just showing where
Previous.
you can
Oh,
enable the
okay.
Cloud Shell. So you can go here and enable the Cloud Shell, and you can, it gets, you'll get this kind of a view. And it's a shell. It's very simple. You can just run commands on this specific command line interface, right? So the terminal, which is out there. Cool. So this is the command which we execute, and once we execute this is what we are going to get. You know, the
Yeah, that's
portal
the
where
e-commerce
we don't,
application. Hmm.
yeah, where we can buy stuff which don't get delivered every time, but
Just
it's
like the truck
still,
that got delivered right now.
yeah.
Oil
No, that
blast.
truck, no, that truck is real. That
Yeah.
trek is definitely real. If you're watching this, you would definitely attend in-person event tomorrow because that's the trek is definitely real. Okay,
Yeah,
Cool.
by the way, just a quick thing for all the viewers out there. If you're watching this live, you can interact with us. Like if you're watching on YouTube, you can or the Twitch. Post your questions directly on that, and we will be able to take those questions and answer. If you are watching on probably other streaming platforms like LinkedIn, we won't be able to pull that in. So make sure you ask those questions on our YouTube comments. That'll be easier for us, or the Twitch, right? So yeah, good,
Yep,
good.
that's it. So we have set it up, and so basically, so what we are going to talk about is the logging and monitoring, and this is something which is part of the your observability strategy, right? And logging is nothing but you're going to log, you're going to log something which is a warning or errors or anything, exceptions which is being thrown, or even you're going to instrument something so that you can capture the traces and other things in the logs. So that's something which you would do in terms of
Yeah,
building the logs. And then the monitoring is about capturing the metrics. So when we talk about metrics, it is the usage, your CPU usage, or your infrastructure usage and other things, where probably the memory usage and other things. So, but there are a couple of other things, the metrics from a cloud native perspective. There are a couple of things which you will monitor from a metrics. So node containers and even the applications and services, dependent services. So that is nothing but tracing, which you're going
mhm.
to build on top of that. So we are going to not going to do everything in this particular module, but it is already built, right? So you can actually see the examples here. Obviously, Nish, when it comes to microservices, there are challenges when you're building the
Yeah.
logging strategy, right? So you can talk about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, quick things is like, when we generally speak about cloud native applications, because they are distributed in nature, one of the key things that we talk about is observability, right? It's like, how do you like monitor this? And one thing that we already covered was the health checks, like to know the services are going down or not. So that's already we covered. And then there is logging and monitoring. And then there's also distributed tracing, right? These aspects are very important when it comes to cloud native applications. So obviously these things exist because there are challenges with these kind of applications, and those challenges are like, because every service may have multiple copies and they all will be logging, and logs are technically the place where the truth lies, right? So whenever something goes wrong, as a developer, that's the only place that you know what exactly has gone wrong. So that means you need to log in such a way that it is meaningful, useful, but at the same time you don't log anything which is very important, like a sensitive information and things like that. So you need to have that kind of basic knowledge on what to log and when to log. And then once you have that logs, the challenge lies in getting them together, like because there will be multiple services in play when a request is placed. Like for example, when Vivek was showing the e-commerce application, that's just a catalog. You go and add to cart, and then once you go into the cart, you add your addresses and then say make the payment, and then complete the order. Multiple services coming together just to complete one request of yours, right? So that means if something goes wrong in between, you need to know exactly where this has gone wrong, and for that the challenge exists, like you need to accumulate these things in a single place. And that's where this centralized database for logging comes into play. So where you don't log in individual file systems. Like I don't know if like if you're as old as me, like there were times when we used to deploy this to your web application, and then you used to FTP into that, and then there was rolling file logs, and there was a time when we need to clear those rolling file logs because you'll be using up the entire hosting space. So then you used to debug into that thing. Now how can you really log into multiple services? Because even let's say simple service like a basket service may be on a scale of 5, and they're all running in different Kubernetes pods, right? So then how would you know which one has picked it up, and how do you handle it? So you cannot do that in a physical machine, or even log into a VM or log into a Kubernetes cluster. So the only option that you have is to find let these logs ingest into a centralized database, and then you watch them in the centralized place. And that's why you need this kind of services, the aggregations, like the log aggregations at one place. And when they aggregate into a single place, then you need a query language to write a better query and then get those information. Now these all three things, like let's say all services, when they're connected and executing a task, you need to know how from service A to service B to service 3 C has gone through, right? How the request has gone through. That's why there is a correlation ID comes into picture in every logging. Then you can do a trace of entire 1, 2, 3, 4, how much of microservices you have. You can actually go through them and then find out exactly where exactly that thing issued. So obviously these toolings that exist in the cloud native world for these observability have become more and more prominent now, because of obviously the applications are no more in a single box with a single point of failure. It's now with like multiple boxes, and they are resilient in some sort, but at the same time you also need to know how to fix a problem when that happens, right? So I hope that I explained the challenges and then what we have now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from a development perspective into this eShop on containers, we are using these two things, right? So logs and sec, right? So that is sec is for centralized management of the logging, and log is to build that structured logging. In fact, so that is what we are looking at, right?
Yeah. So yeah, structure logging. I'll go briefly into explaining that. And by the way, thank you, Nova Fire, for that. Yeah, that's something which it's not mine. I've also heard about it somewhere else, and I felt it. Okay, that's the
So
statement that is so true.
when I was a DevOps lead, and um, we were talking about like logs never lie, but logs never lie.
Yeah, that's true. So coming back to structure logging, I mean, logs, when you generally log, you're logging to a text file, and if you're just putting it into a piece of text, it's very difficult to query them. They become very like a lot of information will get lost in those texts, and it is very difficult to make meaningful query a meaningful data out of that. And that's where the structured logging can come into place. And the thing that we talked about, Serilog, that's a library that actually helps implement structured logging in .NET. Right, there are many logging libraries, but we're just explaining Serilog here. And Serilog has it basically extends the existing logging infrastructure that ASP.NET Core provides, or the .NET Core provides. And then you can go ahead and actually log a complete object. Sometimes you want to log the entire information of, let's say you're doing a weather data and you want to put the entire weather data, whether that entire class as an object, and log. What it'll do is internally it'll serialize, and then it'll make a key value pair. So the good thing is, because it is key value pair and stored in JSON, you can query these keys, or you can query these values, and you can actually build those entire query out of that. And that's super useful. So if you are still logging in text files, I think it's time to look at structured logging, and that just makes it easier for us to parse data and pull the data out of that. And because when you start using something like a Serilog, it's very easy to like query an issue once it is there. And you can also build upon those queries. Like, you can say, has this exception, like there are some functions that you can use, just like Excel has those commands that you can write. You can write those things and then query those information too. um, yeah. And then also it gives you a lot of other things, like since we're here, we can touch upon one more thing called seek, seq. So if you go up a little bit, Vivek, I think we talk about seq somewhere. Oh, we can show that. Yeah, that dashboard that you showed
This one.
just now. Yeah. Seek is one of the sink, and Serilog has something called a sink. Sink is nothing but the centralized data store where you want to store the information, and application insights is one of those data stores. As I told, you need to store somewhere. I mean, if you store it in locally, it just gets lost. Sometimes parts gets destroyed. You may never get the logs. So when you implement these things and these are, mind you, these are things that you have to implement within the code, because the code has to send the data or the logs into the centralized database, and that's why we need sync. And when you have sync, you can configure the sync, and those sync configurations could be anything. For locally, we use seek. I think right after this explanation, maybe we can go show them the seek that we use. And seek is nothing but a simple free one single user license, and you can use it for your development machines and things like that. So it's a nice dashboard, and it stores like a centralized database. You can query them and things like that. It's pretty useful. the beauty of Serilog is you can also add multiple sync, not just seek. You can also add application insights or anything else that you want to add to. You can do that. So when you add multiple sync, you can use any monitoring software behind the scenes to query this data, right? Which is what we're going to show you in a bit, right? So
Yeah,
um,
and it is also part of the to get started. Just it's a
yeah,
Nugget packet, right? So that's what it is.
yeah, it's a NuGet
So there is
package that you need to install. Yeah,
yeah, and there is a question in the chat. Let
sure, that's fine.
me. My mouse is
If
okay.
if the data has to be shared by multiple databases of the microservice and with the external databases, will that architecture be complex in this case due to issues with data maintenance and performance lag? If the data has to be shared by multiple databases of the microservice and the external DBs will the architecture be complex in this case due to issues with? Yeah, I think the question is basically not on the logging, but on the microservices databases.
Microservices.
Yes, it is. Microservices are definitely for complex systems. It is not for something which you want to build it like a simple system. So for that, monoliths are still great, easier maintenance and things like that. Think of microservices like a large e-commerce company, or there's multiple teams working together, and they all have to ship applications, ship features to applications in production much faster. Then that having multiple databases gives you that ability to kind of like focus only on a single service as an entire application by itself, and then have your own CI/CD pipeline to deploy and things like that. And that's why it is complex. It is not for smaller systems or smaller team sizes. It's for larger team sizes, right? One of the examples you can look at is Azure Portal, right? It's this bunch of services. It's new services every day. Vivek and I were discussing about like how much of a service is changing every single day. Like we have a screenshot of one of the service, and then we document that, and then the next day that says things has changed, because that is the speed in which people are working, updating things and fixing things in production. So that flexibility comes only when you distributed the databases and things like that, right? So this complexity obviously exists, but lag in performance and other things, I don't think so, because it again depends, again subjective. Performance is going to be even better because you can single-handed take one service and improve performances of those and independently scale them. So if you think that, okay, because of this traffic on a certain particular services it's slowing down, you can independently scale that service, right, and then improve the performances. So there are multiple things to that. So definitely complex, but not necessarily having a performance hit.
Yeah. So also Balaji, if you can rephrase it as well, because there is bit of confusion between external database and multiple database. Just rephrase that question, and we will be able to answer it even in depth on that.
Yeah, we have
Cool.
one
So
more
we'll go back.
question.
Oh
Just
yeah,
one
we
more
have one
question.
more.
Can't we directly put all the log into Apps Insights instead of having App Insight as a sync to Serilog? Yes, you can if you want to. So the advantage of using Serilog is it gives you that structured logging. It can also have I know Application Insights have these database, the things that you can use. But the advantage of Serilog is you can have multiple. So once you have it in Serilog, you can configure sync. So tomorrow, if in case you decide from Application Insight, I also want to see it in Prometheus or some other sync, you can easily just add sync and then put them there, and then you will have it at both the places, or replace it. Versus if you start using any it doesn't have to be application, any providers direct things, if you start using it, you are then restricting to changing this code later. So there are advantages of using Serilog and then and creating configuring the sync like that.
Exactly, and flexibility.
Yeah.
Right. So cool. Now we have sync and everything's done. The most important thing
You may want to
is,
show this SIG, maybe, like how
oh, we didn't
is
show
it.
that.
Let's yeah,
Yeah,
let's show the
this one.
app itself.
This, yeah,
Yeah,
app is here. So let's
yeah,
go and buy something. You want to buy?
yeah, yeah,
If I
sure.
buy something, okay, it will fill up the telemetry. That's still fine.
You want to show them the telemetry, like, yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I think then let's just go to the SIG. Just show me the SIG. Yeah, the event
okay.
say. Okay, so here's SIG. So this is it's the beauty of this is that it's running on a container. It's right now using up the container space for filling the data, and it gives you this beautiful dashboard which you can query. You can click on one of those things, and yeah, like click on any of those things, like on the logs, and if you open
And
that,
we
you
can
can see
see
that
that.
it's a structured log, and it has application context. You can see, yeah, you can do that find, like in a log, go to event and just say find by this event or something like that. Yeah, click on that, like find, just there's a find with adjacent. So yeah, right now
Yeah.
it's only on. So you can actually query them depending on the IDs, the request ID, and things like that. So right now Vivek is restrictive of, he's not executing anything because he want to show you the distributed tracing later. So he's not executing anything, just to show you that, okay, look, I have blank here, and I want to execute this and show you how this is filling out, which is understandable, and I don't want to take away the thunder from him. uh, so if you when you do a complete transaction, you will basically see the request ID, and then the chain of things, like what all things have happened, all those logs and other things will just beautifully show up here. It has its own charts and graphs and other things, and so yeah, it's great on its own. So this comes when you deploy it for the first time, it automatically comes with seek deployed, right? And what Vivek has already done is executed a few steps to take this forward, from seek to application insights. So that's why Seema, to answer to the query, you will see how he can probably show you the code, how he has added application insights without really adding much of the code changes. Like, it's only by adding the sync, and it automatically, everything works for the application insights, right? So we can take a look at that too.
Yes. Yes, and we'll anyways deep dive into Azure monitoring, and it's very simple. You can see, here the source, where from where the data is coming in, and there is a kind of a database where it is storing all of this information, and then what you can do with that data is application insights, containers monitoring, and visualize on a kind of a dashboard. Even you can use it on Power BI. Even if you can also do a lot of integrations with logic apps and other things. Obviously you can build alerts and auto scaling and other stuff, which you need when you're doing observability, right? When you're in production, you definitely need to auto scale. You need to get alerts and all those things which is required from the source. So we're going to see how Azure monitoring works in nutshell, and um, performance. Yeah. So yeah, Nish, application
Hmm.
performance. Application insights. What does it do?
Yeah, so like it's now become a broader umbrella. So in .NET you have to just add a NuGet package, application insights, and then configure the sync, because Verilog does all the structured logging for you. The advantage of application insights is obviously it'll give you a lot more tracing things. Like it'll tell you the metric on your .NET's performances, your background services, external services, all those things are like kind of like comes in baked in, and then it just very well integrates into the Azure Monitor umbrella that you just talked about, right? So
Yes.
maybe you can show the code that you executed to make application
And
insights
then we will
work.
see the
Yeah,
Prometheus one.
and then we'll see
That's
the
it.
thing in action.
Cool. It's just the extension which we added, right? This
Yeah,
is an extension. This is an Azure extension. So I just added this extension to the CLI, and then
yeah,
we executed this, config command, which will give me the keys for the application insights to enable it on
yeah.
specific services. So this is for catalog service, for coupon service. It will give you some keys, and you take
Yeah,
that
so
keys and
basically, yeah, so just quick explanation on this is application insights requires an instrument key.
yeah.
For when you are logging it into the application insights, it needs to know whether you're authenticated in terms of like what kind of a thing, like a key that you need. So that's what we execute a command to get those keys, and we also define a name for each, like catalog, coupon, and ordering. So we know that when a particular log comes, it comes coming from a catalog or a coupon. And once we have these keys, then the next thing that Vivek has done is he has gone and configured them in the configuration files, right? And
Yes, and
each
it's
of it
very
has
simple.
its own key, by the way.
Yeah. So
Mm.
for each microservices, we have created a separate keys. That's
Yep.
the gist of it, right? So we just go here and update it in the config map, and we just update, and simple.
Yeah,
I mean,
just
we
a
just
quick thing
get it.
again. Config map is basically the configuration system of the Kubernetes. So we are adding it there. So if you see app insights underscore instrumentation key, that particular thing is what .NET app is looking for from the environment. So once you add this to the config map, this is something which I think we've shown it in the previous episodes of how to configure
Yep.
this in the Kubernetes thing and how it gets injected into the .NET world. So it's very easy. So .NET app is only looking at a configuration value for this key, and we are providing this in the config map because that's where the this key matters when it comes to the production.
So next step we have done is just to add this package. So once
Yeah,
we
these
have
are application
add
insights.
these are application, yeah, these are packages. Once we have added it, we added this code to make sure that a couple of extensions we can
Yeah,
use,
you can
right?
you can see that there are two things that we're adding. One is application insights telemetry, and then we are also adding application insights Kubernetes enricher, which is basically giving you more information about the environment that it's running in and pods and the other details. So once you this is just an extension method called add app insights, and we're just configuring that. And then in the next step, in the startup.cs in the configure services, you basically inject that into add app. Basically, whatever you wrote right now, it's getting injected, and this is where the yeah, that's where the .NET code is going to look for this key. And then if you look at the last highlighted item, what Vivek has highlighted, it says write to application insight. So this is where you can see how I'm able to write to application insight, seek, console, everything in one place, and then everything just works straightforward, right? So and we are also uh, defining where saying, okay, we are interested in telemetry traces as well, right? So um, yeah.
That's it. We have done the build and we have deployed it. That's all.
Mhm. And then yeah, building the ACR and then deployed. Now you can show whatever Vivek you are excited about showing people.
No, nothing. So it's basically how do we use application insights, right? So we'll go into Azure portal and we just see this is where we search for this resource group, and within this resource group we have application insight. We have set it for this one, and you can start seeing this. Let me reduce the size. I want to
Mm,
reduce the size. Oh, I closed it off.
mm.
Probably I'll reduce the size here itself
Yeah, you can see
so that
how
people.
application insights is configured for each services separately.
Yep. So this is configured for web shopping, right? So
Mm.
that is
That's
that
an
is the
aggregator.
one of the aggregator basically.
Yep.
And what you can see is this bunch of things which is out here, and we can start with live metrics and see how this is.
Yeah. So again, just by adding few lines of code, you're just ready to monitor your application, and that's what we are trying to say here, right?
Yes.
So we just added application insight. We already had Serilog. We just added the sync to application insights, and now you can see that how it is starting to monitor everything,
Yep.
basically live metrics. And the reason why you're seeing the spike is because we have a web status application which is pinging, which Vivek is open there, which pings every time to check for the health check.
So
And
this is one.
yeah, this one, and you can see the refresh every 0 second. So that's why you're seeing that the spikes that is coming up, incoming requests and outgoing requests, and you can also customize this to what you want to
Yeah.
see.
So by the way, in previous episodes, we have actually designed health check as well, like how we can set up the health check for a service. And this is what I wanted to show. This is empty. Sample
Sample telemetry, yeah.
telemetry is empty, and we have not done anything, right? Just take a look at it. So now, most important to see is how to generate that. So let's go and buy something. This is my favorite part. We will take that. Give me
Give me
free
free
stuff,
stuff.
right? And we'll go and get free stuff. So this is the last episode in microservice niche. So this is the last time you're going to buy something.
That's true. So you're going to buy everything that's there.
Okay, so we'll go here and apply.
Hmm? Says the
Does
coupon
not
doesn't
ex-
exist.
Did I
Yep.
miss something? This is the
No, I
message we
think
have
I
to
think I
get.
think
Oh yeah,
that's
there's a message.
yeah,
It
that's what's
appears
supposed.
error message. and we will have to replace this with real
This
coupon,
F, yeah,
right? And then what do we have? Apply and place order.
yeah. Just
Yep.
wait for the statuses to change. Yeah.
Yeah,
So now
it
it'll
will.
have be submitted, and yeah.
It
So
should
all the
be completed,
asynchronous
right?
thing.
It should be in the status paid, right? To complete
Mm,
the whole cycle. Okay.
yeah.
So,
But you
anyways,
can
this
still go
is
ahead and see the other things because
yes,
it will
trace
be
is
there.
here. So trace is here already. So
Mm.
there's bunch of trays which is you can see here,
And you
right?
can see the 404 there, right there, the request. Yeah, below that. Come down. Yeah, that
Dependency.
one. That's your give me free stuff thing,
Yeah.
because it was trying to look for that coupon, which was it says no 404 because we coupon basically if it doesn't find it just throws a 404 not found exception, and that's what you're able to trace right now there.
So this
Like,
trace is pretty fast. So it just failed, and we just did couple of things, and you can see here it's already showing up here. So now we will see application mapping. Yeah. So
mm.
where is application mapping? So here it is. So you can see application mapping, which is happening. It will show me. Cool.
Yeah,
So
this is really cool, and this all things come free just by adding those few lines of code. That's the beauty of this thing, because now you know exactly which service is calling which service, and you know all the entire thing that we talk about in microservices where things are. And that is
and by the
why
way,
we're checking the aggregator, because aggregator is basically is where it all kind of like distributes into multiple places to aggregate responses, and that's why we are looking at the applications that specifically for aggregators, right? So yeah.
yeah, and the kind of the way it builds up the dependency graph, right? It is amazing. So you can see
Yep.
here, you can see how much second it took average
Yeah.
for 383 calls, how much time it is taking average. So you can basically see that if there is a performance bottleneck, you can make out here itself. So that's the beauty of this, right? So this is something which is out of the box, and if you click on each of these, in the panel on the right, if you click on say this one, you can see in-depth investigation, and you
Yeah.
can investigate performance, and all those things are here. So that's what this module is talking about, like how you can run these things, and we'll go and see
So
end-to-end
this is the
transaction.
this is called the distributed tracing in terms of when we say cloud native apps. It's basically we want to see the entire how exactly from service A to service B, C, D, E went through. So he's just searching with one thing, and you can see that then it'll give you that entire trace of all the way it just went ahead. And click on one of it, like maybe yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, so it'll give you the all the HTTP request and
what is
and
happening?
everything that
So
is
basically, yeah,
the
so it's
timelines.
calling coupon service. It's calling coupon service, and it is, it's the response which is coming back. So everything is, captured for that one specific request which we did.
Mm.
So that's the beauty of this.
What happens? You click on the view timeline there. Let's see.
This one, no? View
View on the
timeline.
top. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this one.
See, that's where you can see that trace. I mean, if you have used something like a Zipkin and other things where it has a similar look of it, like in how long the duration was, and how especially when you're doing resiliency and other things for your services, you can actually improve performances where you need to in these areas, right? So these are absolutely useful when you're trying to build some production grade apps, right?
Yep. Cool. I think that's pretty much we wanted to show from, even we can show it from the trace perspective. Let me show you this. Or we did anyways, right? We went
Mm.
to trace
So you can
anyways.
click on this view and log on that on the top. Yeah, on the next to the reset button on the top. So what this does is it can create a query for you based on the dashboard that you have, and then you can this is something called KQL or Kusto query language, and it's a very nice way to kind of write these things, and then you can have these information listed here, and you can probably even connect to a Power BI dashboard and then visualize there for your business people to see it and things like that, like how many coupons were used, for not for errors, but for business transactions too, right? So yeah, it's really interesting how we can do these things.
Cool. I think that's pretty much we have in this particular section, right? This is what we
Yep.
were discussing, and now we will go ahead and implement. We did this as well, so we have already executed this extension. Again, this is nothing but an extension which we need to enable on the Kubernetes cluster, and it's an add-on basically. You just need to enable this add-on. There are a bunch of add-ons you can add. So for Kubernetes cluster, we are adding this specific one. And then once we enable that, you can see live monitoring, right? So that is, just go to portal and EKS, right? EKS, type here. No, not here. Resources. We'll go to resources west. And then we'll see. Okay, here we are.
So on the left, you'll see that insights.
Let's go to
Right,
insights.
yeah.
Sorry, it's in insights. Yeah. So these are all coming, from the Azure Monitor for containers. Once you
Just a
enable
quick
all it,
thing, like there are a few questions. I'll just take one of it, which is relevant right now, which is App Insights is publicly available, so anybody having access to instrument key will be able to log. Is there any way to secure it? Vivek?
I don't think so. The instrumentation key will be available in public.
It shouldn't be.
It
And
shouldn't be. You should basically use it in a different way. So um, basically, you can use it in if you have attended our GitHub Action series, right? You go to secrets, you add it inside the secrets, and you can consume it via secrets. When you are deploying something, you can deploy it through secrets. That is something which you can do, or different
yep.
ways to manage these keys. Even in Kubernetes, you can manage it with different secrets and other things. So this, because of this module we are running, we are executing these commands live and other things. So you can see some of the keys. You don't have access to the keys as well. Even now, for our demo purpose as well, we have not exposed the keys to you as well. So
Yep.
it's not
So
exposed to anyone.
yeah, quick
Yeah.
thing is just like config map is not the way you will keep any sort of keys or connection strings,
Yep.
because Kubernetes has this don't they have
Secrets.
secrets? Yeah, they have secrets
Yep.
that you can use. But I think even better would be to use something like a key vault. Like you can
Yep.
use an Azure key vault and secure it there. And like one of the other ways is like maybe in GitHub in your CI/CD pipeline you can have secrets configured there and inject them. So yeah, you should never ever store keys like this. And this is a wrong way. Thanks for pointing it out. But they were just doing a demo, so we just wanted to show how easily to do it, because if we add a key vault, there's another extra step involved in making it understandable for everyone. That's one of the reasons why we had to do it in a simpler way. But yeah, you shouldn't be using keys, should be secured. Yes.
Yes. So if you enable Azure Monitor for containers, this is what it will capture: the node details, the containers information, the controllers, metrics, everything is captured here, right? So you can see bunch of things available. You can play around with it. If you run this module, you can play around with all of these things, and you can also see the containers, right? A number of containers running. And from a cluster perspective, if you go, you can even see active pods, number of active pods and other things, right? So there's 28 pods which is running. So
And these are not live. I think this is just last 6 hours. You can just enable live and then it'll show you there.
yeah, yep.
Vivek, if I remember correctly, you haven't deployed this if you're looking for Prometheus scraping, right?
Yeah, Prometheus, we haven't deployed it yet.
Okay.
So this is just the last 30 minutes, but it still won't change number of pods which we have. It will remain same. So if I can see, you can see number of pods running. Anyways, um, so this is a number of pods. Okay. So let's go back and understand what we are going to do from a Prometheus perspective. So to set up a Prometheus without Azure containers sorry, Azure Monitor for containers, um, you need to set up a Prometheus server, and you need to make sure that you set up the pull metrics system, and obviously the rest of the other things will anyways be set with the Prometheus itself. When you set up the complete infrastructure for Prometheus, that is the alert managers and the prom SQL, right? So that is something, one of the query language for it. But if you enable the Azure Monitor for containers, what happens is you don't need Prometheus server. Data is stored within the Azure Monitor storage, and you can run the query language which we have, and then get the data directly. All we need to do is to make sure that the metrics is being streamed to slash metrics, and from that slash metrics is where we are getting the data into the storage, right? So that is what we have designed it here. So all we need to do is to install the package. Once you have installed the package, we have just added some code to see number of uh, a counter for number of things which we run from a
Yeah,
catalog
just
perspective.
yeah, Vivek, just a quick thing. I mean, for like for example, like there will be questions. I think last time when we chatted about this, like people asking why Prometheus when you have all these things. We're just showing the capability here. It's not necessary that you need to have all of these things. But Azure Monitor for containers, by default, people who are using containers in the world, like they started to use Prometheus, and then you probably have a Grafana as a dashboard, and then scrape through it and have those details. This is where Azure Monitor for containers, if you're using them directly, which is basically just enabling, like adding the add-on will just enable that, that you can start viewing all the things, and then you can still use those Prometheus metrics and then see it on Azure Monitor for containers, and that's what we're showing you how to do it. And metric, I mean, I think initially we talked about logging and metric is all about numbers. So you want to know how many times this particular request was made, or what was the error transaction between this many date to this many date, what was the your CPU usage, those kind of things. Those numbers are what these things will do. And that's why in the .NET code where you see here, the reason why we have added Prometheus as the NuGet package is to add those things within your code. For example, if you look at that code where Vivek has put app.use and then counter.with labels, at the end of it, it says .inc. So basically, it's incrementing the number of times this code is being called. So you're creating a counter for it. So this code will be available within the Prometheus endpoint, and that Prometheus endpoint will also be created by the next code, which is app.metric server. So it creates an endpoint within your .NET code, which the anybody who's scraping this thing can get it, and that is Azure Monitor for containers in this case. So it'll scrape that endpoint, it'll pull this detail, and that is how you're able to see it in the dashboard. Right. So this is kind of like a pull model, and like previously, if you look at the logging and other things, we were adding the sync, and the data was getting ingested by the code. But in this case, it is a pull model, which means the app itself will expose an endpoint called /metric, which we will show you in a bit. And then it is that thing will be called by these dashboarding systems, right? Like Azure Monitor for containers, or the dashboard that you see. So it is going to scrape it at the your endpoint, and it's going to collect those data. So that's the difference here.
That's it. So it's basically it's streaming the metrics into slash metrics. So
Mhm.
we're just making sure that we take the data from there. That's it. So that's what Prometheus does as well. It just
Mhm.
takes that information back to its server, and we don't need that server. We just need to set this up, and no need to worry about managing the server if you have been using Azure Monitor for containers, right? So that is something which you can do, and then we did the build, and we did build this whole thing. I have
Yeah, we
not
did this
deployed it.
previously because let's go ahead and
Yeah,
deploy it.
yeah, so that we can add this annotation, and let's copy this annotation so that we can set up the slash metrics on
And we
the
are doing only
specifically
for
on
the
the
catalog.
catalog.
Yeah.
Yes, only for the catalog. We just need to do it on the deployment.yaml. So let me go here. Where is, oh, I don't have the code. ASP.NET. Got to go into the source.
Just do a
Um,
code dot, I think there.
yeah,
Uh,
and go to deploy. It is simple. Where is it? Catalog. Okay. Catalog
and
and then
deployment.
deployment. Oh,
Yeah.
it's already there.
You just have to, yeah, uncomment them.
Or is it?
No,
Need
no,
I
no, no. I
miss
think it's
something?
gonna,
No, no, no. Yeah,
yeah,
it's right.
Control Z. That's it. Just remove that hash.
Yep.
No, 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 no. You don't have the this one right now. The YAML is the source code of the internet or something. You had some statement like that, right?
No, it's correct. It's
Yeah, it's fine.
it's
So
fine.
the reason why we were screaming about this is because
So,
YAML
yeah,
is
yeah,
a little crazy in terms of indentation, and we
yep.
don't have tooling support here because we are doing it online on the browser on the Azure's code editor, which is a very primitive one. Like it doesn't have all the extensions and things like that. So even if you make small mistake, then we have to do this process again, correcting it. So that is why we were screaming. There's no other reason.
Copy paste. Huh?
Yeah.
So I'm going to just deploy this after making
Mhm.
those changes. Just deploy it.
Yeah. And previously, whatever with the Prometheus, code changes that was already built to ACR. That's why you did not see those things. What we did is we this time we because by the time we reached the last episode, we knew how to do it better. So we are trying to not waste enough time just executing the code, and because a lot of time just gets wasted in deploying. So we thought, okay, we'll do these things and keep and just only take this code that is very easy to, uh, you know, change, and then we just went ahead and did that.
We can make this
Yeah.
change as well.
What is that change?
This is to make sure that you just let the you are basically which one to uh, which service needs to send data, right? So you are basically
Okay.
going into the catalog. Um, you have created a separate one, container config
Yeah, that's the
agents,
agent
right?
configuration.
Agent
Yes.
configuration, right? So that is where you go and enable Prometheus onto the complete structure, right? Complete AKS there. So where is this? Where is this code?
Go
Deploy.
to
Okay.
K8s and then Azure Monitor.
Deploy KTS.
No,
And
yeah, the first one under K8s, first one, yeah, Azure
oh
Monitor.
yeah, it's at the top itself.
Yeah, just that YAML. Just go and enable that to true. Isn't it already?
It should be through. Which one is that? Which is that this thing? Monitor Kubernetes pod. This is a configuration which we need to do. No, this is
Go.
false actually.
Yeah. So
So we need to make it true.
yeah, I think this enables the indentation. I mean, this one annotations that you added.
Yes, yes, correct. So this is just a simple configuration.
You saved it. Okay. So
Yep.
if you are doing it at home by yourself, just don't forget to save it, because people make that mistake a lot. Because there's no easy way to find out. There's a small dot that comes up there, and if that dot is there, then just please Control S so that it just saves, and then you can go ahead and do the rest of things. Okay.
Cool. So we have done the whole thing.
Hmm.
So what is this? What is the next step? Run the following command. Go to deployment. Okay, just keep looking at the looking at the catalog.
Yeah, because it's the catalog, right? So
Yeah.
that's why we
So I think it will take some time to share
do a
this data.
kubectl get parts and see if that.
It will take some time.
It shouldn't, right? Because you already pushed the cloud.
No, to push the data onto the
Catalog is running.
Prometheus.
Yeah, just
Catalog
go
is
and
running.
refresh. Yeah, just go and refresh that thing. Yeah, just
Catalog is
refresh it.
running.
Yeah, just refresh 5, 10 times maybe. Um,
One, two, three,
yeah, now you can go and see
four.
the telemetry that you wanted to show.
Telemetry, though, anyways, it's there. But I don't. I think we need to see Prometheus now. We need to run this query.
Example
So
queries.
just yeah, we just go to communities and then select logs and then go to monitoring. Where are we? Oh,
So on the
we
left,
have to,
yeah, go
that
to the logs.
is logs,
Yeah,
and then it will ask me to
yeah, close that thing. It's
close
okay.
this
Yeah.
and close this one as well and run this. Right?
Hmm.
This is where we run. Here we go. It will take some time.
Okay, for it to list up, right?
Yes, it takes some time to list up.
Are you in the monitoring section of the?
No, I'm
Uh,
incorrect. It's basically logs on the monitoring. Where am I?
okay, logs in the
Logs
monitoring
in.
section. Okay, thank you.
Correct.
So yeah,
No, it takes some time. That's what I was. It needs
okay.
to still emit the
Mm,
the metrics. So it takes some time
okay.
to run.
Yeah, this is again, just for those of you who are watching this and surprised, like why we have been doing this everywhere, and you're seeing similar things again. It is about showing you the capability of the Prometheus, like how you can write those annotations and still write those queries within here using Custo. So yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, be sure to check that out. And let's Vivek, let me take up some of the questions that we missed earlier.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we are
so about
waiting.
the external DBs. So with Balaji says external DBs, I meant we are trying to break the ERP application into microservice architecture. Okay, we need to fetch the customer data and process the data in the microservices DBs, and there's a continuation. So we need to replicate the data from customers DT into microservices DB. Okay, I don't understand this exactly, but because you said customer DB and microservice DB, um, the the point to understand is, like, if you're breaking down the architecture into multiple databases, there could be duplication of data, which is what I'm trying to infer from your statements, because you say microservice DBs, because customer database means you may have a microservice called a customer service. You will have the databases. And what architecture did you say? ERP? Yeah, so if you probably within the ERP, you have something else where the customer data, some other service where the customer data may be there, and that will be a duplication, and it is your job to make sure that they are in sync. There are many patterns out there, like CQRS and materialized view patterns and things like that, how you can kind of like store only a certain amount of, like for, I'm just giving an example of materialized view pattern, where you can store some amount of thing that you can show it, display to the users from different services within one service. So there are multiple things, and my suggestion is I'm going to drop in something called an a link to you, which has this explanation very well done. So there you go. So check your YouTube, where there's this link to .net/architecture. If you go to that site, there are some free ebooks over there, which talks about things in detail. Like it is there for microservice development, and also I recommend you to check the cloud native book, because that talks about how the databases you can architecture in such a way that so making choices between SQL to NoSQL and what patterns to use and when. So try that out.
Yeah, definitely. I think you know you need to make sure that you need to understand the data first, like where the data is and how it is being structured, and break that into right set of services and see which service requires which database, right, and how the data needs to go in. That's something which you need to see. And even if, I mean, if you're still facing some problem or anything, just reach out to us on Twitter or on LinkedIn. Probably we can
Yeah.
chat about it. It's still taking time.
Okay. So yeah.
Or, oh yeah,
Oh, there you go. Let's come. So you can see the value is 6
yeah,
in the
6 times
commenter. Mm,
I did the refresh. So that's the reason why it is showing the value 6. So we can try
yeah.
one more and see. No,
It's
we'll
going
try.
to take time, right? As you said, because it needs to
No, no,
scrape.
now it will start showing up. It's
Okay.
first time. I think it will take some time. Let me see.
Okay.
Hopefully this will.
So you're expecting
No, it
7.
will. No, 8 actually, but 7
Okay.
to 8. Whatever it comes
Okay.
up. No, it will take some time to come. But anyways, it did come.
Hmm.
So yeah,
So you can see the kind of data that is the tags that has gone and just open the tag for me
yeah.
and see those all your Kubernetes details also are there.
Which host and everything is there here.
Hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
Cool.
I think we're done.
Okay. Yes. The most important thing. 8 days to
Yeah.
go.
So let's post that link also in the uh,
Jet.
get.ms. So that I
Yep.
yeah. So I'm just going to post this link for you all to try this out. So there are only 8 more days left out. They're all very simple and straightforward. Some of the episodes we have gone ahead and even talked about the answer knowledge check questions ourselves. So you can technically do this and finish it off quickly. So, but give it a try. All that you need is an Azure subscription, which also you can get it free if you don't have one yet. And and this learn modules talks about how to get it. And so just go ahead and execute this, and then become a zero to hero of the .NET microservices, just like Vivek. He's now a number one
Fully certified.
certified
Right?
person. Yeah.
Yeah, fully certified. Let me show this.
Mhm.
Again, so happy to see this. See?
Yeah.
Fully certified.
And
A
I'm very
hero.
happy to see this by because I'm one of the authors of these modules. So it gives me immense pleasure when people find it useful and can complete them. Right. So
It's definitely useful, and the magic scripts and other things. You need to check out that magic scripts. Interesting.
mm, right.
Cool.
Right.
Okay,
So
Nish. Tomorrow we have in-person event, so that will be amazing
yep.
to
I
catch
hope I
up.
make it. All
Okay.
right,
See you
everyone.
all.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any questions, we are on Twitter. Feel free to reach out to us. And we'll. So this is going to be almost the. I think this is the last episode in the season right now. So we'll come up with new ones very soon. And so stay tuned. By then, just complete the semester .NET challenge and just let us know. Just tag us on Twitter and let us know that you've completed this challenge, and that'll be super helpful for us. And with that, thank you so much. And I really appreciate everyone who has been telling this about in person. This is 2019. I wish, right? I wish. So we or I don't wish because I don't want 2020 to be coming back. But the way we are seeing right now is like we are open for some in-person events. So I hope things work out well. So um, yeah, thank you so much for staying up late.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
from Australia. It's too late. Good
Yeah.
night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much. Really, really
Bye
appreciate it.
bye.
And yeah, see you soon. Take care.